Welcome to the hardware review of the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 and the new tripod bracket. From the unboxing, the installation, the setup and the installation to different games and the Windows functions, we go into all areas that you can currently do with the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. And at the example of the space simulation Star Citizen, we also show you what you can do in the game with the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. As a specialist for eye control and vision, the Swedish company Tobii with the Eye Tracker 5 has the opportunity to carry out head and eye tracking in the gaming sector, where additional devices or the wearing of a hat or glasses is not required. In the scope of delivery, we not only find the about 30 cm long Tobii, completely made of aluminum, but also some accessories. In addition to the about 1 meter long USB extension cable, we also find two magnetic connections for your screen, where we present you the alternative from Tobii, namely the new tripod bracket, which has a possibility for connection to a tripod. So every camera tripod is suitable. And since the Tobii is provided with the magnetic brackets, you can also use it on a laptop, for example, or simply take it with you and install it on other devices. The eye tracker itself is made entirely of metal and is of high quality in every aspect. On the back there is a recess with two very strong magnets where the bracket is attached. With this you attach the Tobii to your screen or to one of the alternative brackets. This keeps it safe and stable on your monitor. And a quick tip: do not pull on the connection cable. The alternative to attaching the self-adhesive mounting brackets to the screen is the tripod bracket. This is also made entirely of metal and has a standard 1/4 inch connection. This allows all standard camera tripods to be connected and the Tobii has a safe hold. But of course, you have also the option of using a DIY solution here, because the connection plate was simply attached to a metal adapter. With just under $40, the tripod bracket is not exactly a bargain. But it is also a high-quality, full metal piece with a clean stainless steel thread. As soon as you connect the Tobii 5 with a free USB 2 or higher port, you will notice that some lights start to glow. And depending on the viewing angle, you can perceive this infrared light. These are not dazzling or disturbing, but visible in a particularly darkened room. But the Tobii also works in a completely darkened room, even with glasses or contact lenses. After connecting via USB, the driver is usually automatically downloaded via Windows. Otherwise, you can of course find it on the Tobii website. And after installation, you come to the first calibration. And you can always do this again, even in running operation. Here, place your Tobii under the screen and make sure that the markings on the Tobii match those on the screen. To do this, you can move and enlarge the bar depending on your screen and position of your Tobii. Subsequently, you should sit as upright as possible in front of your screen and perform the calibration. To complete the calibration, it is enough to look at the various points on the screen. And you can repeat this calibration via the Tobii Experience software at any time and adjust it again. And it is also possible to use the Tobii on your laptop, for example. Here, it is enough to calibrate it to the respective devices and simply plug it in. The currently 170 supported games differ depending on the type and sometimes significantly in the scope of function that you have with the Tobii. In addition, all light conditions are supported and the screens support up to 30 inches. But we play on a 48-inch screen and have no problems here either. Another feature is the Windows Hello support. Here you can unlock your computer with one look at a Tobii. But let's focus on the functionalities in the game. With the example of Star Citizen, we can not only show you a space simulation with 6 degrees of freedom, but also with vehicles or in an FPS mode what the Tobii can do. All supported games have the option of choosing the Tobii as a tracking source. For the Star Citizen area, we have several options here, as we have the general settings for head tracking and then again dedicated settings that are only covered by Tobii. And we have summarized our recommendations for the settings in Star Citizen in a free PDF, which you can download for free from us in the Discord. The link you can of course find in the description. The most important function, however, is to assign a button or the ability to activate and deactivate for head and eye tracking, and also a button for recenter head tracking. For Star Citizen, we can, for example, choose whether we want to activate the head and eye tracking in an external perspective, so the third-person view. The Tobii 5 not only offers eye tracking, the ability to move the screen or to record interactions with just one look, because at the same time, head tracking is also possible. And don't worry, the big red circle is of course not displayed in your game. We have shown you this to show you where we are looking and how we are moving, or what the effects are. Because the Tobii 5 not only offers eye tracking but also head tracking. This means that when you move your head, these movements are implemented one-to-one, for example in a cockpit. In addition to eye tracking, this offers another clear feature and the real added value. Because we have the ability to fly in one direction via the normal control options, like joysticks or mouse and keyboard, but to look in a completely different direction with the head and eye tracking. And such an added value can only be achieved with a head and eye tracker where the Tobii combines both. And of course, all supported applications also offer the possibility to set the gaze tracking, so eye tracking, separately from head tracking. This way, you can set down or up the different sensitives and find a control that suits you accordingly. Especially in an outside view, we have the possibility to significantly increase and maximize our field of vision. Because this way, we are not limited to the cockpit view or have to change our camera angle during a flight. This offers a real added value in every supported application. But it is definitely recommended to carry out a basic configuration in advance. Because in the standard configuration, for example, head tracking is very present. Here are already smaller head movements very clearly noticeable, and we are already turning very far. But eye and head tracking not only offers an advantage in 6 degrees of freedom simulations or flight simulators. Because even in the first-person shooter area, it is quite an advantage to aim forward and perhaps take a look into a small side pod. This means that the angle of view of your character is no longer fixed forward, but you have the opportunity to interact more. But especially at the beginning, these new freedoms are still unusual and should therefore be tested first. Because the active head and eye tracking almost goes in the direction of a VR experience when we turn around and then the character reacts accordingly. And in this way, completely new viewing angles are also possible. But also in the area of vehicles and simulations that take place on the ground, we of course have the same possibilities with head and eye tracking as in Space Combat or on the ground. Basically, the overview also increases here and we have more options to perceive our enemies and opponents. In general, the feeling of immersion increases and we have the opportunity to interact more with our environment. However, the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 can of course play its true strengths in space simulations or flight simulations, and best with 6 degrees of freedom. For example, in dogfights we have a very good overview and the possibility to keep an eye on our opponent even if he's on the side or partly behind us. But so much freedom also has its price, because the Tobii Eye Tracker is anything but cheap. With just under 280 euros or dollars, this high-tech product is not a bargain. Here, we definitely recommend you to use the special code, or to buy it at one of the various events throughout the year. Because here up to 20% discounts are partly possible. And of course, you can find the corresponding code in the video description. And in addition, you can test the Tobii for 30 days risk-free and send it back in case of doubt. A feature especially for streamers or content creators is the possibility to share your view with your viewers. Because, as you can see here in the video, you also have the possibility to share this with your viewers in a live stream. This works via an additional software, Tobii Ghost, and a plugin which you can then activate in your streaming software. And depending on the game, you have different options that the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 has to offer with head and eye tracking. For Star Citizen offers the possibility that you can mark enemies when you look at them as a target. Or you can fire rockets on enemies that are in your field of vision. So you don't have to fly behind your opponent, but you can also fire rockets around the corner or backwards. And of course, more features are to be expected. But what do you think of this high-tech head and eye tracker for just under $280? Let me know in the comments, in our Discord or in the almost daily Twitch live streams. And in these live streams, you can of course also have the possibility to ask questions about Tobii or the possibility to follow our glances. And finally, a little warning. If you once got used to the Tobii 5 and then used the head and eye tracking, you don't want to play without it anymore.